Hi guys, I'm back. I was away for a bit. I haven't been doing many videos because been moving to a new place and it's been kind of crazy. So I want to talk about that a bit today. I've moved temporarily with my ex because we share a dog and we were planning on moving out of the city, and it was kind of hard to coordinate both moving to two separate apartments, because previously we lived about 1 minute away from each other and it was really useful with the dog. Our whole situation is a bit weird, obviously, between... let me turn this off. I'm going to fucking cook, but yeah, it's a bit noisy, isn't it? So we were living very close together and it was really useful, with the dog and everything. So we decided to temporarily live in the same place here. And this new town we've moved to, it's a much smaller, quieter place. It's really beautiful. It's by the mountains and shit. Maybe I'll put some pictures up on the screen now. I don't know. It's been amazing actually. Like the area itself, like just walking around with Luna and like amazing to be away from the city. To be honest, like I feel like for me the city was not very good. It was like I don't know. I felt sort of like insecure there. I felt weird. I felt bad about myself a lot. It was like, it's kind of a tourist location. There's quite a lot of like rich, like hot tourists everywhere, and like I just always felt like fucking horny and like depressed. And it's just so busy and crowded and noisy, and it wasn't very good for the dog. Here is like, thankfully most of the people are quite ugly, it's really peaceful and quiet and nice. And just a bit less like, it feels like less of a superficial place, it's a bit more like, just the area itself is beautiful rather than all the people. It's nice. It's really nice. I love it. But anyway, when we first moved into the apartment, it was a fucking disaster, like total nightmare. First night we got here, it was all good, there's some things we needed repaired, blah, 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 but it was all fine. We're just thinking, all right, we'll have to, deal with these things one by one. Buzzer not working, stuff like that, little things. Anyway, we're chilling, watching a bit of Dragon's Den, as per. And, it's our favourite show to watch with dinner. Watching season 13 at the moment. We've been going back through, not all of Dragon's Den, because the old ones are like a little bit hard to watch, but we've been going through from season 10 onwards, which I'd highly recommend. The UK version of Dragon's Den. Oh, tried watching Shark Tank. That is for babies. Sorry, but if you enjoy that, you are a baby. That is TV for babies. It's goo goo gaga nonsense. There's music every 5 seconds. There's cuts every 5 seconds. The colours are like sickening. Bro, American TV, like, not to be a fucking Brit snob or whatever, but Jesus Christ, American TV is horrible. Like, all the stuff that's bad about our TV is like 100 times worse. It is. Shark Tank is a nightmare. UK Dragon's Den is like one of the best things ever made. And the characters are just so much more likable. Anyway, we're on season 13 at the moment. Yeah, with the introduction of Tuca and Sarah. Sarah's awful. She's so boring. But Tuca is incredible. He's one of the best dragons ever. So funny, that guy. Anyway, we're watching that, chilling. The move had been so stressed, as moving always is, but this one, it's up 5 flights of stairs, and I had to move like 2 apartments worth of stuff, and we have quite a lot of stuff, up 5 flights of stairs in the peak of Spanish summer. So like, in a way it was kind of enjoyable, to be fair, because it was just so intense. It was like, I like exercise, so it was quite good, but it was also like, it was exhausting. And just organising everything, there's the mental stress of moving, you put all your shit into a van, like everything that you own, and just hope that everything goes okay. It's a bit weird. And then you've got to tidy the old place and all this. It was all difficult. Anyway, we're finally like, we can relax. We both booked some time off. We're chilling that evening. Haven't got a TV here or anything, so we're just watching Dragon's Den on the laptop, having our supper. And I was pretty baked at this point. And get a knock at the door. We hear the doorbell and we're thinking, it's weird. Quite late, And I open it, it was people from downstairs, and they said that water was coming into their apartment, There's a problem with the water, and that it was coming from our place. And basically they had like loads of water dripping down from the ceiling, and it turned out that there was like a severe leak coming from our place. Apparently it happened before, like a little bit, but not really. It wasn't really a big problem, but now it was like crazy. Now that we had moved in and we're using the taps regularly, it was crazy. So we had to turn off the water. We couldn't get hold of the letting agent for ages. We were trying for hours. Eventually we did somehow. We somehow got hold of him outside of working hours, you know. There's no emergency contact number or anything. And he said, okay, I'll contact the landlord or whatever. And we were like, all right, like, you know, the landlord needs to sort this out first thing. And he contacted the landlord, and the landlord said, I'll be there at 5 p.m. tomorrow to look at it. And we're like, no, it's all right. Like, you don't need to look at it. You know, just send a plumber around, please. We haven't got water. We had to turn all the water off. I can't remember if I already said that. And we were telling the letting agents, like, you have to tell the landlord to come sooner. And they just wouldn't do it, because they obviously don't want to piss him off because he pays them. And we were like, please, you know, just tell him to send someone around. He doesn't need to come around, because you know what it's like with landlords. They'll come around and be like, oh, maybe this is cheap. Maybe this is easy. Maybe I can just come up with some shitty solution. I do understand why. People act like landlords are just made of money, and like, you know, nothing should matter to them. And I do think some people take landlords for a ride, and they're always seen as like the villain, you know, which I do feel is unfair a lot of the time. But when it's this hot and you haven't got water, it's just like, nah, just fucking send a plumber, you know? You don't need to look at it yourself. They wouldn't pass this message on. So we were getting really angry. And the next day, all day, we're like, look, tell the landlord it has to be by 2, or we're going to get a plumber and we're going to take it off the rent. And it got to that time, we were having a huge arguments with the letting agents. It all got like out of control, like very heated and stuff. Huge arguments with letting agents, all this. The landlord, eventually they gave us the landlord's number. He just would ignore our messages. Like, we were sending, you know, telling him like what's going on, and he was just ignoring the messages. He would read them on WhatsApp and just not reply, which was pretty crazy. You know, we were getting really fucking angry. We were thinking, this guy's like a piece of work. Anyway, plumber came round. We called the plumber ourselves. He was really good, actually. Really fucking good. And he kept thinking he had found the problem, and then realizing that the problem was deeper than he thought. And it started out like, okay, I'm gonna have to cut the whole wall open in the living room because it was damp. We'd seen already the wall was damp, and I could I forgot in the day prior to all of this, I'd said like, there's something wrong with this wall. You know, it's got brown stains on it. There's damp in here, and there'd been mold on a cushion that had been left in there. And so he was like, yeah, I'll have to cut the whole wall open and shit. And we were thinking, all right, it's a bit annoying. You know, we just want to relax, but it's not too bad. Just be the wall. And then he'll just replace it. It's just plasterboard or whatever. The wall was a lot thicker than it looked. So he started cutting the wall out. Then he realised, basically, to not bore you, it just kept escalating and escalating and escalating. So first there was the wall, which had to be done. And I'll put a picture on the screen here. So as you can see, the wall was cut open. Then he realised again that this wasn't going to be enough, and that there was. Sorry, I'll skip forward. Basically, he kept realising that the problem was, you know, somewhere else, or that it was a larger problem than we had realised. And in the end, he had to cut out the whole wall. He had to drill through and this apartment's really nice. And like my ex, like she, like, I don't really care much, but she has always wanted like a nice place. You know, she's really proud of finding and choosing this apartment, and she loved it. And like, it's not the biggest thing in the world. I understand it's a first world problem, but it's quite sad for her because like, it's a really nice looking place, and she chose it, and she was really happy with it, and she loves to like, I don't really understand this because to me, I just live like, as you can see, like, not that I've set this place up, but you saw the old place I used to film at. It's very no nonsense, you know. As people often pointed out, my washing machine was in my fucking front room, and everything was, you know, I don't care as long as I can live my life there comfortably, but she does. And so for her, it was like horrid because everything, all the corridors, all the tiles came up. Then he realised that wasn't enough, and he had to do it in the bathroom. And then he realised that that wasn't going to be enough. And it just kept going on. Like every time I'd come out, I'd be like, okay, pasa, and he'd be like, it's muy terrible, and just telling me like, this is awful, we're going to have to. And he had to do the whole kitchen floor as well, because the plumbing in the whole place was fucked. It was like really antiquated plumbing style and shit. And it was clear he wasn't a rip-off merchant. This was all legit. Like he was actually like, I think, staying a lot longer than he wanted to, and because we were getting on quite well, and he was like, I think he felt bad for us, and he wasn't expensive at all. But he was legitimately just finding, he was showing us it all. It was crazy. So anyway, in the end, the hallway, the kitchen, and the bathroom all were just like completely fucked. Like he had to drill through all the tiles. We thought he was saying he can just replace the tiles. We thought he was just going to like cut around them and put them back in, but no, he just smashed everything up, drilled all the tiles out, excavated the floors. It was just like a demolition site in there. I'm putting pictures on the screen now so you can see like this is what the place looked like, and it was really nice beforehand. The tiles were really nice, and he just had to fucking smash everything up. Incidentally, we filmed it. We took the opportunity to film a music video while this was going on in this place. I think this video will be up before the music video, but please subscribe to my Olaf channel. I regret saying please. It sounds very desperate. Please subscribe to my Olaf channel. No, it's, I'm doing fine for subs on there. Just if you want to see it, by all means, subscribe to my to my Olaf channel if you feel like it. YouTube.com/Olaf Music. I'll post it in here. But if the video's out, I'll put the video in the description. But I think this video will come out first. The video that I'm filming now, I mean. But yeah, we did a music video in there anyway. It was kind of funny. And that shows a lot of the damage. But yeah, anyway, you can see it in these fucking pictures. So, yeah, so shit was fucked. And for this whole time, basically, we didn't hear from the landlord. The landlord went silent for like 2 or 3 days. He doesn't live here. He doesn't speak Spanish. He doesn't speak English. He's from Belgium. He doesn't speak the language of the country he has properties in. He doesn't live here normally. So he just coincidentally was here on holiday at the time. And so we had no way of communicating really with him. He would just send us messages in French, which I felt was a bit like, come on, man, you own properties here and you're sending us messages in French. This isn't France, like it's a bit outrageous. Anyway, so he eventually, sorry, it's just Tara talking to the dog. I don't know if you can hear that. He was gone for like days. We just didn't hear from him, and he was looking at the messages, chilling on the beach with his family, presumably, and just being like, ooh, it looks bad. We're sending him videos of all the wreckage and shit. And eventually he turned up, and I was pissed, like, kind of on behalf of Tara, to be honest. Like, I don't know, anyway, it wasn't like out of control, but I was letting him, it was like, and the plumber was having to communicate for us. They were both Muslim fellas. The plumber was Moroccan. This guy, I guess, is like Egyptian or something. So we thought that there would be some kind of like rapport, but it turns out no. Turns out not the case. I think they had more in common both speaking French than they did with the Muslim thing. I think they're like different types of Muslims, because there seemed to be some kind of a strange racial issue going on towards the end, which I'll get to. But anyway, yeah, so he was translating, the plumber was translating shit in French, and I was trying, and he didn't, I think he knew that now, like, okay, the landlord's here, so he's going to be paying me, so I don't want to piss him off. So he was getting a bit like, he was telling me, like, don't, like, he was trying to calm the situation down. I wasn't being crazy or anything, I was just saying, like, this is terrible, like, you have just for days without water, like, and kind of gesturing with my hands, like, you looked at the messages and just shrugged and put your phone away, like, I was pretty, like, upset with him. And the weird thing was, the surprising thing, because you sort of think when someone does that, they're just a complete prick, but he seemed kind of sad. Like, at one point, I thought he was crying. I think maybe he was crying. His eyes were like, he looked like he was crying. It was really weird. I couldn't tell. He seemed upset by it. And it seemed to actually affect him. Like, he seemed to actually be like, damn, yeah, that's really out of order. Because I was saying, like, what if I was just kept putting these scenarios, you know, what if this happened, what if this happened, you know, what, like, and you know, how would you feel, for example, if this was your family and stuff, you know, in this situation. And he seemed, you know, bothered by, I think the guy's just really disorganized, basically. I think he's just like, I guess inherited money, because he does not seem on the ball enough to have made all this money by himself. I think he's just inherited money, and he's just like not super switched on, and just enjoys relaxing and shit. Who doesn't? Not me, actually, really. I don't know how to do it anymore. So yeah, he then became, you know, he was sort of part of it then, you know, and he would come back and bring supplies for the plumber and shit and whatever, and it was ongoing. It went on, and we had to get, you know, get like different tiles to replace the shit, to replace the stuff that had gone. And yeah, and the plumber was like, they got into this dispute at the end over the pay, and this was going on for days, and it got to a point where it was just like, leave the house, like, you know, it's just endless, like, you just wanted the house, we just wanted to be on our own, you know. It was like so annoying after a while, like it was just like constant arguments and shit, and then they got into a big dispute over pay. I thought it was finally finished, and I was like, man, I was like shaving and shit, and shaving my head and my face, so I was like, you know, just in my pants, and I was putting all my shit, I got all my fucking shit on, I got like oil on my head, and like fucking shaving cream all over my face, and the doorbell rings, there's the plumber coming back, and I was thinking, to be fair, I thought it was a bit weird the way because he left and the place was a mess. He had done the job, but the place was like very messy, and there was just shit everywhere, like from, you know, plaster and stuff, like all the things he'd used to, but I thought, fuck it, we'll clean it up, I just want some privacy. And anyway, he came back, and I couldn't understand what he was saying on the intercom, so I just buzzed him in, and he started to sort of, from what I gathered, being like, the landlord hasn't paid me, so don't pay your rent, and you can pay me. And we'd already paid him some up front, which is we're going to take from the rent, but he was like, you have to pay me the rent. He wouldn't say you have to, he wasn't, but he was like basically saying like, just don't pay your rent, and if he hasn't paid me by then, you can just pay me. And I didn't obviously want to do that. I understood why he asked, because he was just pissed at not being paid, but I was like, let's just, you know, give it a couple of days and see what happens. Like, we can all talk about this in the morning, because this is a bit mad, and I'm not gonna, you know, yeah, like, it's not really my responsibility to pay you. And then he started saying to me all this stuff about like, if I knew he was Arab, I wouldn't have done the job. Like he said, like, I'll work for English people, I'll work for Spanish people, but I won't work for Arabs. And I was like, oh, that's kind of surprising. Your words, not mine, pal. But I don't know if he said this type, if he was saying he's like this type of guy, or if he just meant like Muslims or Arabs in general. I didn't really understand, but I kept clarifying. I kept saying it again to make sure I understood what he was saying. And yeah, it was the gist of it. Which was, yeah, it was weird. Anyway, yeah, it fucking eventually got done, because it was a nightmare. I went to the place below, and it was like crazy, like all the ceiling was all mouldy and water was pouring down. And at that point, when I went round there, we were thinking, well, we're lucky, at least we're not them, you know, this is a nightmare, there's water dripping down everywhere. But then I think they came up at some point, and they saw when our whole place was like a fucking archaeological dig, and I think because they kept coming to check to make sure we were doing our due diligence to sort the problem out. And I think when they saw that, they were a bit like, oh, okay, these guys are having a mare. Like, they're obviously trying to sort it. I think even they were alarmed at like what a big job it was. It was pretty extreme. Like, I've never seen plumbing like this. It was like extreme plumbing, like really, it was crazy. So that delayed a lot of things. So yeah, I guess just doing a quick update, you know, let you chaps know where I've been and Wagwan. I can't remember if anything else happened afterwards. No, we just did it, I guess, yeah. And in the end, the landlord paid him, and then and in the end, he started to seem like quite a nice guy, the landlord, actually. We started to both quite like him. We couldn't really communicate with him. He would speak into the app on his phone, you know. It was, but he came around with his daughters, and they really liked the dog, and like, it was all just very nice. It all ended very nicely. It was at the time we were thinking like, this is fucking war, man. Like, we're gonna fucking have to like refuse to leave. They'll probably try and kick us out as all. And in the end, it was fine. Which goes to show, I guess, like, yeah, I don't know. It's it's easy to jump to bold conclusions about people when they don't fall in line with your standards. I'm not saying what he did was okay or right at all. It wasn't. But I guess it's easy to, again, draw bold conclusions about what type of person they are. I'd be like, oh, it's a typical fucking piece of shit landlord who's this and that. And actually, I think since then he's like done a lot of the other repairs, and he's been around like a lot to like put a lot of his time in that is clearly doesn't come naturally to him to like invest time in his properties. And as I think they've all been on holiday, and he seems very apologetic. So it's been, it was interesting. It was weird. The whole thing was crazy. Yeah, mad experience. It was funny, really. Even at the time, we were able to see that it was funny, but just crazy. And then just other shit keeps happening after that. Every day, like, we fix a thing and then a new thing happens. Right now, Luna has horrific diarrhea, which is pretty minor in comparison to the plumbing thing. But it's just like, it's just a madhouse. So I haven't been able to do many videos, but I did one earlier today. Actually, this isn't actually the first video I've done. I've done an earlier one which will come out after this. And I've got a lot more on the way. I've got a really fucking good one on the way about GHB as well that I'm really excited to do, because others have disagreed. I personally feel some of the drug videos have become pretty stale and boring, or at least a bit dry. I'll say that. Not stale and boring. A bit dry, though. I've just, I don't know. But I realise that there's so many good GHB stories I want to get into. So there'll be a good video on that coming soon. That'll probably be a 2-part one or a very long video. And a bunch more shit. So I hope you guys are well. Anyway, that's all that's going on here. Take care. Have a nice day.